Right then guys, it's PSL here and I'm here for the final round in my 20th Century Classic Cars Sprint Championship. In the previous race around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the action was relentless, and so were the accidents and pile-ups at the final chicane. Those incidents allowed me to gain a lot of positions, but I was still shy of getting a championship point. But my failure was a McLaren MP4/4 success. Esto Sari in the 88 McLaren scored a point that Grand Prix, and it was the first point scored by a driver in the oldest car in the game. Meanwhile, at the front, it was nearly a first win for a 1991 McLaren, but come the end, he was passed by a 1995 Ferrari. That's the first win for Ferrari in this series, and that very car won at that exact circuit during the 1995 season, granting Alesi his one and only Formula 1 race win. So it was fitting that that very same car won there in this series. That's the second to last round, and Monaco hosts the final round of the season. The championship standings currently see both myself in the 1992 Williams and Alain Forest in the 1998 McLaren at the top with 14 points each. 5 points separates the top 8 drivers, 4 of them have 10 points and the other 2 have 9 points. In theory, anyone in the top 16 can win the championship. The thing is though, every model of car has a chance to take the championship depending on how you look at it. Of course, the 98 McLaren is in contention, and by the rules as they are written, it is in the prime position for the championship win. Their top man is leading the championship, and sure, he will be starting the race from last. That probably won't matter though, because he would need one of the drivers that has 4 points or more to win the race, and that just won't happen. It's so unlikely to around Monaco. The highest placed man on the starting grid, who is within 10 points of the championship leader, starts from 5th. He's in a 96 Williams and he leads a quartet of 96 Williams that have the 3rd and 4th rows of the starting grid all to themselves. The thing is though, they'll have to make up positions at a rate of about 1 a lap in order to win this race. This is Monaco, let's not forget. Overtaking is nigh on impossible, even with the large performance gaps between these cars. Even if they win the Grand Prix, that would only see them equal the championship leader, unless it's the final 96 Williams who has 5 points to his name. But he's starting the race from 8th, and it would take a miracle for him to get into 1st within 5 laps, and he would have to pass 3 teammates to do it who are in the same car, so it's not likely is all I'm saying. I am still vaguely in contention. Well, all of the 92 Williams mathematically are, but I'm probably their best hope. However, I'll be starting from 19th place. I more than likely would need only 1 point to win the championship, and I'm in a field of AI. The sad truth of it is that I can overtake much easier and quicker than the AI, but even then, to get up into the top 6 from 19th place within 5 laps around Monaco, and to do all that cleanly and in only the 2nd quickest car here, that's going to be tough. I tried and failed to do pretty much exactly that in the 21st Century Classic Car Sprint Championship. Speaking of which, I ended that season 2nd in the championship, which then became 4th due to the double points glitch, oversight, whatever, in the final round of the season. I've kept saying over the course of this series that I'll ignore the glitch, but I really just can't. Only because it actually brings in a new and frankly more interesting way of looking at the championship. So because of the double points, whoever wins here wins the championship. Not in my eyes, but in the game's eyes certainly. Thanks to the lack of overtaking opportunities, lack of laps and double points, the rest of the season is irrelevant, and instead this is the only race that matters, if you go by the game's final judgment anyway. So, looking at the race, you've got the two 88 McLarens on the front row. the driver on pole position being the only driver who hasn't scored a point so far this series, but I'm certain he'll score at least some points here. Then you've got the much more competitive 91 McLaren in third, a 95 Ferrari in fourth, and then the quartet of 96 Williams that stretch from 5th to 8th. Realistically, it's going to be one of those top 8 that wins the Grand Prix. Well, be sure to place your bets for the race winners now, and if you go by the game's championship rules, then the person who wins here will also win the championship. So then, here we are on the grid for the Monaco Grand Prix, the final round in this sprint championship. There's a 98 McLaren. Howard Clark doesn't really matter in this championship, but the 98 McLarens do. So do the 88 McLarens. There you go, because there's two ways you can look at this championship. If you go by the normal rules, the rules as they should be, the 98 McLarens are in the prime position. If you look at the double points rules, the 88 McLarens are in the prime position. But that's as it stands. There's 5 laps in this Grand Prix. Anything can happen. So the lights are coming on for the start of the Monaco Grand Prix. And it's underway. And there's a lot of tyre smoke coming from the cars around me, including a 95 Ferrari. And it's been quite a while since I started alongside a 95 Ferrari. But up the inside of a couple of cars, up into 16th place, 17th. I'm side by side with my teammate Alex Murray. But no, I've definitely lost out there. 17th place. Started in 19th, now up into 16th. There's Howard Clark up ahead. I've lost position to Alex Murray once again. And it's just going to be so difficult to overtake around Monaco, unsurprisingly. But there you go, there's Howard Clark, probably the fiercest championship contender. He's one of the few drivers I can actually name as Howard Clark. Got past him, but as I said, he isn't really a contender for this championship. The only people to watch out for is the 98 McLaren driver who's leading the championship, myself, and the people who are starting in the top 8. Everyone else you don't really have to watch out for, but there you go, I'm going to get past a 91 McLaren up into 14th place. And that was just me. You saw I switched the fuel mix from standard to rich, and it was just that the extra fuel going through the engine, the extra boost of power that allowed me to get past that 91 McLaren, and that could be pivotal, especially as there was a bit of a gap opening up between, well, the 91 McLaren and those cars ahead. Round the Lowe's hairpin though, a replay of the first lap, and specifically me trying to get past the 91 McLaren and just about been able to do it just before we enter the tunnel. And there you go, just about been able to get the power, of course, with the rich mix as well. No, that was close. Through the tunnel, I mean, it's you know, through the tunnel was probably one of the few clear-cut overtaking opportunities. In fact, that going into that chicane, that was really not a good line from that 91 McLaren who locked up heading into the chicane, and he's now backed up everyone behind. So I've got my own breathing space now because of that, although I'm still behind. Well, crucially this guy, I mean there's loads of implausibilities about me winning this Grand Prix, but of course let's not forget I started behind a lot of 98 McLarens. I am still behind at least this 98 McLaren who started the Grand Prix in 13th up into 10th place. He made up several positions off the start and hitting the back of the 95 Ferrari to get into 9th. Not the cleanest overtake. I mean, it wasn't dirty, but you can't really push a driver out of the way to then create space to get past. This isn't bumper cars, this is Formula 1. Love the camera angle though, we saw how close he got to the wall, but at Monaco you're never more than a few feet away from the wall at any given time, so that's not really too much of a surprise, but just a nice camera angle to see on this game. The thing is though, is normally there's lots of race start replays. There wasn't here. It was just that McLaren, because look, the top 8, there were no positional changes in the top 8 at the end of the first lap. The only driver that changed in the top 9 was the McLaren who broke into it and passed a few people to get there. That's it. That's the only change in the top 9. And at the front, I mean, you can see why there's not all that much positional changes. The top 2 are two 88 McLarens. They're not all that quick, but also, judging by this, they're not even that equally matched. And we're heading up towards to back. And as you can see, the 88 McLaren driver, the one in second, going very defensive. So he just hindered his own line around the corner because he took a very tight line, the inside line, but then he had such a sharp angle to turn in at. He just backed himself up, and there wasn't really anyone who was going to overtake him. If anybody makes a move from the run from the chicane at the exit of the tunnel to back, if a move is made there, then that is the overtake of a century. But anyway, I mean, I can understand why he's going defensive, but as it stands, it's not really about him. The driver in second's irrelevant, but he is representing the 88 McLarens. They're sort of functioning as a team. One's going off ahead and the other one is backing up the rest of the field. Even if it's not intentional, that is what is happening as it stands. And anyway, 14th place for myself on the second lap of the Grand Prix. There's another 95 Ferrari coming up to the Lowe's hairpin. And this is it's one of the few overtaking opportunities, although on this game, some of the more modern F1 games, I think it was the case in 2016. I can't remember if it was in 2015. I don't really remember it being the case, or I barely remember the game, but my point is in some of the more recent F1 games, certainly this one, trying to get around Lowe's hairpin, it can be tough to actually physically turn around, especially when you're trying to overtake a car, so you can't even let the car run out wide. What I'm saying is overtaking into the Lowe's hairpin can be a gamble, because if you get it wrong, you don't have the turning angle, you then just carve up the car behind and then cause a logjam. Thankfully I didn't do it, but I mean, I need to take all the risks I can anyway. Now here's the leader of the quartet. I was going to say quattro. It's not a quattro of 96 Williams, it's a quartet. But there you go, second lap of the Grand Prix. Again, you can see heading into to back, the 88 McLaren takes another really tight inside line, but no one's going to overtake. I doubt even the 98 McLaren has got the overspeed on the 88 McLaren to pull even alongside, even significantly alongside, on the run to back. It's not that long of a track. I mean, there's very few overtaking opportunities. On the start-finish straight, you can imagine there being an overtake, but that's really it. And here you can see, looking back from the driver leading the Grand Prix, that's the gap he's opened up. His teammate is going that slowly. He's got a clear track ahead, clear track behind. Look at the cockpit, look at the steering wheel. That's the reason I left that shot running. It's just such a simplistic cockpit, and of course I know that car's built in 1988 and all of the other cars here are 90s. In fact, they're all 1990s cars. But it's just, you know, I just love seeing that cockpit, because even this car, this 92 Williams that I'm driving, getting past another 92 Williams, the cockpit is so much more enclosed and the steering wheel looks more space age, whereas the 88 McLaren, it's got a normal car steering wheel for the most part. That's what it looks like anyway. I'm sure it's more complicated than it looks, but anyway, moving away from the 88 McLaren, going back to myself, although as I tried to get across in the intro, it's kind of academic. This is why you don't have the final race of the season at a track which is difficult to overtake around, because it undermines it, because of course whenever you head into the final race there'll be someone who's leading the championship and there'll be other people who will need to finish in a high position, or they might qualify badly or whatever, but you know, to keep the championship as alive and as open as possible, surely you'd want the potential positions to be as fluid as possible, the potential finishing positions. When you have it at a track like Monaco, you know that how the race starts is pretty much how it will end. So thus the championship is done once qualifying's done, and there's not even qualifying in this championship. So, you know, how the championship standings entering this Grand Prix are how they will be leaving this Grand Prix. Bearing in mind, reverse grids, only top 6 score points. But cutting into the top 6, we got a 95 right behind a 91 McLaren, and the 91 McLaren has locked up and given the Ferrari third place. That's deja vu. We've seen that before, a 91 McLaren lock up. It's really weird, the 91 McLaren has locked up a lot over the course of this series. It just really has. We saw it in Hungary, we've seen it on a few separate occasions, but here he's lost third place. And I think in Hungary, when he locked up heading into the second corner, he lost third place there as well. It's like we saw in the 21st Century Sprint Championship, the 2006 Renaults kept getting bad starts. And here we've got the 91 McLarens keep locking up. It's just you get certain traits with these cars, and I'm not sure whether it's programmed in or a coincidence, but it is impactful, certainly. So that's promoting the 95 Ferrari up into up into 3rd place, but we're on the 5th and final lap of the Grand Prix. I'm only in 11th place, so that's it. Championship effectively done and dusted, especially as I've got 2, maybe now only 1, 98 McLaren left to pass. I've passed one of them. There's still a 98 McLaren up ahead, but look, it's the final lap of the Grand Prix. He's in 9th, I'm in 10th. That McLaren up ahead is the one that we saw get a very good start and make up 4 positions on the opening lap. He's made up no more positions since. So he just got up into 9th in a matter of about 20 seconds, and he's been stuck there for the past 5 minutes. And I think that's it. I think that's it for the race. We're going to see an 88 McLaren win. I think even an 88 McLaren 1-2, but who knows? Our only hope. This is effectively, depending on how you look at it, it's certainly for the race win, and also potentially, depending on how you look at it, the championship win. It's double points. There's 20 points at stake. No one has got even close to 20 points yet. So, if this Ferrari can overtake both McLarens in half a lap, and that's going to be tough, but it's a much quicker car, and again, a tight line into to back for the 88 McLaren, but a move is going to be made around to back. I said it was going to be the move of the century, and it's been pulled off. Going around the swimming pool chicane, the 95 Ferrari is in 2nd. Unfortunately, it is too little too late. Maybe if there was another 5 laps, he would have won the Grand Prix, but the 1988 McLaren, the McLaren MP4/4, has won the Monaco Grand Prix. The oldest car here, the slowest car here, and it's just like in the 21st Century Sprint Championship, where the slowest car in that championship won the Monaco Grand Prix. It's just, again, you know, having a championship, or having the final race of a reverse grid championship, where it's only 5 laps, at a track where it's difficult to overtake around, of course, it's going to be the slow cars that start towards the front, and of course they'll finish towards the front. Going round to back, the McLaren actually kept 2nd place, but then, once, because the Ferrari backed out of the move, but then the McLaren backed off, tried to then steer aggressively to the right to retake the racing line, and that just wasn't going to work. You can't just turn into a car. The Ferrari backed out of the move, but he was still there. Anyway, he's taken 2nd place, lucky not to be carved up and just stuck in the barrier, to be honest. Same can be said for this McLaren, who nearly caused it, but they did finish the Grand Prix in 3rd, only lost 1 position over the course of this 5-lap reverse grid Grand Prix. And here we go, another look at the incidents. So, as always, as he always did over the past 5 laps, look to the left-hand side, inside line, but look, he has to go so slowly just to get around the corner, and you can see slows, backs off, steers right, the Ferrari's still there, you can't... He sticks his hand up in frustration. That was his fault. Again, look at the cockpit, beautiful, simple cockpit, but, you know, it's, you can't just... The Ferrari backed off of the move. That didn't mean he just ceased to exist. Anyway, luckily both cars got to the end. I mean, you know, if that was a crash... It's a case of if that was a crash, I might... If that was a crash, it would have caused a log jam, and as we saw in Monza, I've capitalised a lot from log jams, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Finished in 10th place. Gained 9 positions over the course of the Grand Prix, which is far, 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 far more than anyone else here, but... It's me up against AI. What'd you expect? But there you go, that is an 88 McLaren race win around Monaco, a 95 Ferrari in 2nd. That's the Monaco Grand Prix, and it's ended very similarly to how it started. Alain Forest, the championship leader, made up 1 position all Grand Prix. 1. He didn't even pass the 95 Ferrari, he passed the 92 Williams. How did that happen? I don't know. Anyway, there's the championship. Fundamentally, in the top 2 positions, the top 3 positions actually, is exactly as it was. You've got the 88 McLaren that won the Grand Prix. He's now 4th in the championship. You saw he's 4th. You saw that he's 4th in the championship with 10 points. Thanks to the double points, thanks to the reverse grids, everyone has got at least 4 points now in the championship. Noah Visser is last, but... well, I mean, we'll see. When we will see, because look at the championship now. Alan Forrest has gone from winning to down to third. You've got the 95 Ferrari that came second here. He got 6 points, double that to 12, added on with the, well, presumably 3 he already had. That means he's second in the championship. Bukowski, who won the Grand Prix, has won the championship because of the double points. That means that I only got bronze medal. I mean, I don't really care. I'm going to stop rambling now, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this race, and this series, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Well, the next video uploaded on this channel will be on Grand Prix Manager 2, and then it's going to be a start of 2 new series on this channel, which I hope you guys are looking forward to. So, yeah, I'll see you guys then.